Rev up your engines!
Here's a reason you might not want to rent with Turo. You know, there's apps where you can rent people's cars. Turo wants a customer to pay $35,000 after vandal smashes rented car's window. There's all kinds of laws, and you don't know them when you rent a car from somebody, right? He rented his car, the windows got smashed, and now the owner's trying to claim $35,000 in damage. Now, they must have done more than smash the windows, right? The problem is, there's so many different laws. You'd need a lawyer and an accountant to figure out what you should do if you rent one of these from a thing like Turo, because it's a third party. You're not renting it from Turo, you're renting it from somebody else. Here's how complex insurance is if you rent one of these Turos. And I quote, "The primary difference in insurance is that they are different legal entities, and therefore there are different laws that apply to them. It's a vehicle sharing program. It's defined differently and thereby handled differently by insurance companies as well as a consumer's credit card company that may have a damage waiver attached to it." Hire a lawyer before you rent from Turo. You don't know what you're getting into. And of course, the people that are renting the Turos, they're not out of the hot seat either. If somebody rents a car and kills somebody, it's your car that killed somebody. And let's say your insurance company won't pay for it, guess who they're going to sue? They're going to sue you. So both ends of the Turo thing are kind of crappy. It's kind of a ridiculous thing, the company Turo itself. They don't see any legal obligations. They're just like, well, we're the in-between guys. You know, well, you got in a wreck. Well, you can deal with the insurance company or the guy. No, we had nothing to do with it. We just said, okay, you can rent this guy's car, right? Stay away from those things. You know, I've used it twice, and I had bad experiences both times. The first time, the guy didn't even bring me the Tesla that I was going to film a video with. He just decided he wasn't going to show up, right? And then the second time, I got this crappy car that could only go 66 miles before it ran out of electricity. And they don't tell you this before you rent the thing, right? I'd stay away from those things like Turo if I were you. And yeah, sometimes you think you're getting a deal. Well, this guy got a deal. Now they want 35 grand out of his pocket. So maybe not rent from Turo, yeah? Maybe stay away from those guys and all the legal nonsense that's entailed if something bad happens. McCain says, I'm moving across the country to Boston, and I'm going to get my first car. I'm looking at a 2024 Subaru Impreza or a Toyota Prius. What do you think I should get? And I'm mainly going to drive suburban 5 to 15 minutes. If you wanted something that's going to last as long as possible, you're talking brand new, I'd say get the Prius. The Subarus do not last as long as the Toyotas, period. You say you're mainly going to be doing in-town driving. That's where hybrids like Prius come in. I would not buy a plug-in, the one that you can drive 50 miles on electricity or more. No, the batteries cost a lot. You're where there's snow, and they use a lot of salt in the winter. The salt will destroy the battery under the car. If you have a plug-in hybrid or an electric car, the battery's under the car. The salt will get in and destroy it. With the Prius plain hybrid, the battery's still inside the car. It's away from the elements. The salt doesn't get to them. So I would definitely say, if you're going to do that, get the Prius. You'll probably be really happy with it. They last a really long time. And you say you're only living 5 to 15 minutes away from work, so you're not going to be putting all that many miles on. And what wears them out is mileage, and they generally go usually a couple 100,000 miles before they have any serious problems. So that would be a long time for you. Ryan, Minnesota says, is it worth replacing my engine knock sensor? I got a 2000 Toyota Tundra V8, 300,000 miles. I have its check engine knock sensor code. I don't want to spend a lot of money here. I don't use it that much. It's a 2000. Right? Those things can run forever. Now, the knock sensor is a pain in the butt to change because you got to take the intake manifold. I've seen people drive those things years that way. Now, here is what the bottom line is. Let's say you live in Tennessee. Don't bother. They don't inspect cars, right? But unfortunately, if you live in an area where they do emissions testing, you'll have to fix it or it will not pass the emissions testing because it's got the code for knock sensor and they won't give you a sticker so you can legally drive your vehicle, right? So if you live in a non-inspection state, just keep driving it. Who cares? They'll still run for a really long time. But if you live in one where they do, you're going to have to replace it because you won't be able to legally get your car inspected so you can have legal plates on your truck. Brian Hall says my 2018 F-150 is running too lean, adding 16% fuel on both banks. Dealer says it's normal, 43,000 miles. Can't find vacuum leaks. No check engine light is on. Well, that is not normal. The dealer's just lying through his teeth like they normally do. Now, the thing is, you got to get to around 25%. Before it'll trip the check engine light. But 16% is way too much. That's way too much. There's something going on. It's a 2018. So it's 6 years old, might put some fuel injection cleaner, maybe the injector's a little dirty, and when they're dirty, then instead of spraying a nice little cone-shaped spray, they spit her like somebody's spitting, and then it tries to add fuel to make it run right. There's all kinds of things that can go wrong to do that. You could have a weak fuel pump. You could have a bad air filter. Who knows? But that's not normal. Anybody tells you both sides are adding 16%. That is not normal. And they're just throwing a bunch of baloney on you. That's total garbage. Andrew Speaks says, Scotty, my 2012 F-350 Power Stroke, 65,000 miles. Is it too late to start fluid changes like transmission and coolant? No, you only got 65,000 miles. Do it. Definitely the coolant and the transmission. Do it. Just use the same coolant and the same transmission fluid that's original equipment, because there's always a little residual left, and who knows if one company's formula will mix with another. Stick to the original equipment fluid and all of that stuff, because you never get it all out. And what the heck, it's not all that expensive. And you don't have to go to a Ford dealer. There's plenty of places that sell motorcraft stuff, parts a lot cheaper than a dealer. Well, it's now official. The Tesla Cybertruck is going to have a stainless steel exoskeleton. They kind of look like beetles, right? That the outside's going to be stainless steel, made by a Finnish company, Outokumpu Oy, or however you pronounce their crazy names. Well, this reminds me of one thing. Let's see. Stainless steel vehicles. Back to the Future. DeLorean time machine car. The DeLoreans were stainless steel. Unfortunately, they didn't put enough nickel in a bunch of the stainless steel that they used. They built those in Ireland. And a lot of them rusted, and they had to end up painting them. We'll see what happens with the Cybertrucks, if they will be stainless steel and it won't rust. They said to get it from this Finnish company. Who knows what's going on in Finland, right? But I find it rather interesting that they picked Back to the Future technology to build the Cybertruck. Because if you know anything about cars, the DeLoreans were a massive failure. I don't know, to me it's kind of ridiculous. If you want to make good stainless steel, it's pretty expensive to make it correctly, right? And if you've ever dealt with stainless steel, it's not an easy thing to deal with. They get a lot of problems with fracturing and stuff. It'll be kind of interesting to see what happens if we ever get the things mass produced out there. Will they have quality control? Will they rust? Will they have problems? Who knows, right? But interesting enough, they're following DeLorean by using a stainless steel shell. Didn't work out too well for DeLorean. Let's see how it works out for the Cybertruck. Well, here's a man I agree with, Jonathan Lesser. He wrote an article and he calls it the offshore wind boondoggle. And I agree 100% with everything the man says. Even before supply chain woes, crippling inflation, and inevitably higher interest rates intervened, the promise of rapidly declining costs driven by ever larger turbines was always a delusion. Of course it's a delusion. Now I said, well, in the future this will be better. No, it won't. They cost more. They break down. And of course, the companies like Ørsted, European company, that's building this crap on the East Coast, they just want more of our U.S. taxpayer dollars. As he says, companies like Ørsted demand even more concessions, and beleaguered ratepayers in the Northeast already pay some of the highest electricity rates in the country. They want more tax credit, more of our tax money to a European company. So, and I'm in Rhode Island right now, we can pay even more. They're already saying how much they're going to raise it, right? It's just another scam pulled on the American public for these corporations to make money with the technology that doesn't work because these idiots in Washington think it does. But I do have to say, this guy hit the nail on the head. In conclusion, here's what he says, and I agree 100%. Using an 18th century technology of windmills to meet the needs of a 21st century economy is a costly and futile gesture that will benefit the politically connected few at the expense of everyone else. Eventually, the offshore wind industry will collapse upon itself. I agree entirely with this guy. Old technology, windmills, great. When all you got is wind, out in West Texas in the 1800s, great. You had a windmill, and what was it doing? It was pumping water. So all it had to do was go up, down, pretty simple, and they get water out, right? But if you noticed, they stopped using them a long time ago in most places and replaced them with motors, electric motors, or gasoline or diesel motors to pump the water. They couldn't pump efficiently enough. They're too slow, right? They don't put out that much power. So it is a gigantic boondoggle. Like I said, the energy here in Rhode Island, they're saying, oh, by 2030, we want to have all these megawatts of power. Then you find out this stuff is like 1/700th of the power the state of Rhode Island uses, and they're going to spend billions on this stupid little amount that probably won't even last that long. It is a boondoggle. People, do not fall for this crap. If you got politicians pushing this stuff, vote them out. They don't make any sense. They're wasting everybody's money. And when it all falls apart, what do they care? It's not their money. They're politicians. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.